Well, good afternoon, parents of the graduates, family, friends, faculty, and all others watching via our live stream. Today we are gathered to recognize and honor these graduates for what each of them have accomplished. They've successfully completed a rigorous course of study in the liberal arts over the last 4 years, a course of study prescribed to them by the governors of Glendale Preparatory Academy and recognized by the state of Arizona. And now I'll speak directly to you, graduates. You're here in a very unique way after a long, unique year, and you're here without your parents and your teachers, those people who have poured wisdom and love into you over the years, and you're now about to embark on the rest of your life, and this is a time of transition and a time of reflection. And so let me remind you of the last 4 years. Many of you have completed 2 years of calculus. Actually, all of you have. Yeah. No, some of you have because we had our senior choices. Some of you have completed 4 years of a foreign language. All of you have sung in at least 2 choirs and performed in at least 2 plays. And some of you had that Zoom play at the end of second semester. And I remember that. You have read and annotated and discussed over 25 novels, studying thousands of years of history, and have taken 4 lab sciences. And each of you completed your senior thesis and defended it via Zoom. And that doesn't include all of the other extracurricular activities. And these 4 years have not been easy, and your senior year was particularly challenging. It wasn't ideal. We have been away from each other for some time due to this pandemic. And in addition to the pandemic, you are all moving on from GP, some of you moving out of the house, at a time in human history, particularly in our country, where we've had a break from the hustle and the bustle. And I think more than ever, people are wondering about truth and goodness, beauty, human dignity, justice, mercy. And we see disagreements. Disagreements so personal and fundamental, we might even call them division. You're going out into a world where there is division regarding truth and how we should live our lives. So this is the context of your senior year. It's involved much toil. The backdrop is a worldwide pandemic where sickness and death is around us. And now it culminates in a time where the world and our nation are desperately grasping for hope and peace. So I'm going to ask you to do a little reflection. Consider your time at Glendale Prep and think about what you cherished. And now think about what you would have changed about your time at Glendale Prep. It's an interesting question. What would you change about your experience? And I've had this question in my mind the last month, considering the student perspective. It began after I had a conversation with an alumna who shared about her experience at Glendale Prep, as well as the particular transition from Glendale Prep to college and adulthood. And she was able to share her appreciation, no doubt, for what Glendale Prep provided for her, but also that she wasn't completely prepared when she moved on from Glendale Prep. And I appreciated the conversation. There's a particular piece of it I want to share with you. And again, this is based on my memory and notes I took, so I'm paraphrasing. But let's say this is the quote. In my time at Glendale Prep, we spent a lot of time together discussing the ideas of virtue and morality. But reality is not like that. Reality is not ideal. We never stepped back from the books to gain perspective on our own lives, our own suffering, the suffering of others, and the need for change in our culture. It is one thing to discuss good and evil objectively or in fiction, and another to recognize it in ourselves, evil in the world around us, and be prepared to seek good. I think what this alumna shared is worth considering as you set out from a somewhat sheltered environment. And I don't say sheltered as if it's a negative thing or a positive thing, but it is something where you were given a certain experience. I'm suggesting that you consider what you were given, and you now must discover something. So, you were given a time to spend discussing at an objective level, at the level of ideas. And maybe some of you did, maybe some of you didn't, but did it translate to the existential reality and the personal wrestle we all must face to find meaning to our lives? We cannot merely discuss ideas in a classroom. We cannot only seminar about works of fiction and nonfiction. This is good. It's part of preparation, but we must make application to the world and the human experience. Any transition can be difficult, particularly if one recognizes this disparity between what you learned in the classroom and what the world is like. It can be personal, and it was personal for me and my experience transitioning from high school to college. So if you can wait patiently, I'll share about that experience. So when I went from high school to college 5 years ago, make sure they can hear you on the live stream to laugh. 10 years ago, you're supposed to keep laughing. 20 years ago. You might say, no, Mr. Navarrete, you cannot be that old. I'll say, look at the beard. And you'll say, no, that's because you coached Matt Hawkins and Christopher Nally. That's why you have white in your beard. No, 20 years ago, I remember it vividly. I was in a seminar class. We were discussing the Odyssey. I referenced something about a character, noting he was evil for doing this or that. The professor stopped me and explained that I must refrain from sharing my interpretations because they assumed a big T truth. I submitted, not really understanding what the professor was talking about. Never heard that distinction. But it just kept happening. Every time I shared a perspective that assumed objective truth or universal morality. So I finally met with the professor and said, can you help me understand? You keep making this distinction between big T truth and little T truth. And he was kind and gracious, and he shared candidly with me, Mr. Navarrete, you know that no one today believes there is absolute truth. I was stunned, shocked, angry, lost. I was not prepared for this perspective. Why did my high school experience not prepare me for it? And my turmoil was not that my belief in absolute truth was being suggested as incorrect. I did then, and I still do believe wholeheartedly there's absolute truth. But I didn't have reasons or proof or justification for my beliefs. And that was the reason for my turmoil. So I share my experience of my transition because I believe two things. Learning about different perspectives, whether correct or not, is an experience you will undoubtedly encounter as you move on from Glendale Prep. It will happen. You will come to realize that there are people who believe entirely different than you. And this is an opportunity to consider if you know the truth and have reasons for it. And then secondly, I do not believe you will face the same reality I experienced just 20 years ago. I wonder how revolutionary or controversial it is today to suggest there's no absolute truth or knowledge is impossible. It seems we've somewhat moved on from the beginning of skepticism. But I believe you are setting out into a world where more than ever, people will take notice of what you value and for what cause you will stand. And I think you're going into a world where people will make judgments about what you value and the beliefs you stand for. And this pressure should and will cause you to stop and reflect. Self-reflection is a good thing. The unexamined life is not worth living. And I believe the examined life, not the unexamined life, the examined life wrestles with what is true and what is good. You're going to be forced to stop and consider, is there change I want to see in my life, in those I love, in our culture? What will bring about this change? Will this change be temporary or lasting? And what is the end goal of seeking change? Is it simply a desire to appear virtuous? Is it for personal glory? Or is the goal the glory of another? So graduates, my hope is that in your time at Glendale Prep, we were able to help you just begin to lay a foundation for discovering meaning to your life based on truth. So I charge you as you move on from here to live the examined life, that you consider what it is to be good, that you seek truth in the inmost part of your soul. For only then can you bring that truth to others and make meaningful and lasting change. So now, to begin the afternoon, that was my little spiel. Thank you for your patience. The Academy has selected 3 graduates, 2 salutatorians, and 1 valedictorian to speak on behalf of you, the senior class. Ordinarily, there's 1 and 1. 1 salutatorian, 1 valedictorian, but we have 2 salutatorians. And you might ask why? Well, we considered the academic accomplishment as well as the virtuous character, and both young ladies are humble, kind, and caring. Both have contributed not only in the classroom, but in our community through athletics and extracurricular activities. So we could not choose between them, but both exemplify great-heartedness. So please welcome our salutatorians of the class of 2020, Miss Caitlin Kao and Miss Audrey Bierman.
Well, sorry. Okay. It's safe to say that no amount of perfect vision puns could have helped us foresee the chaos that the year 2020 has become. This is where you laugh.
Anyways, the class of 2020 has gotten a lot of attention. I did not expect the speakers at graduation to be big names like Beyonce, Barack Obama, and Jim from The Office himself. But before you start looking around, we met on YouTube, of course. However, it begs the question, what has the class of 2020 done to deserve such recognition?
Most would say it mainly has to do with us missing out on our last quarter of school, or the fact that we were the seniors that didn't get to go to prom because of a worldwide pandemic. But if Corona is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the class of 2020, you'd be missing out on what this class truly is. And for this reason, let us remind you of some of the other things we have done.
We were the first class of 6th graders to get trampled and lost on the brand new campus.
We were the class that almost burned down that same new campus.
We were the class that got all future 7th graders banned from the log ride at the zoo.
We were the class that started the legacy of the Pine Tree Chant.
We were the class that restored J.O.'s faith in taking tour groups around D.C. Yeah, we definitely did that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we were the class that accidentally skipped the last day of school. All the other years did it on purpose.
We were the class that attended countless school events, and along the way we definitely gained plenty of bumps and bruises.
We had many wins as well as our fair share of losses.
We traveled for choir concerts and club field trips. Oh, I'm sorry, I mean ECNA field trips.
We were the class that had a blast while pioneering the house system.
We were the class that has shown up in dozens of other ways that we won't mention here. But most importantly, we are a class who deeply cares for each other and our community at GP.
We are more than what has happened to us, and we will continue to move forward from this point. And our success would not have been possible without GP, its faculty, our families, and countless others in the community. So thank you to you all for driving us forward and supporting us in our endeavors, both past and present.
It goes without saying that this last quarter was not what we expected. But as life has changed, we've been so moved to see teachers, friends, and loved ones help support us as well as one another throughout all of this. As daily life and the plans for the future have changed, their support and cheers from the sidelines have not. So for that, we are so thankful, and we're sure that the sentiment is echoed amongst our classmates.
We would also like to give a final thank you to the administration at GP for not only working hard to ensure that we would still learn something despite the distance, but also for still trying to make our senior year special. And I think you did a pretty good job of that. So thank you.
Though we both feel unqualified to give you all advice, there's one thing we'd recommend. It would be to find a community of people who love you and support you like we've done for each other these last 7 years, just like the one we found in that freshly finished campus so long ago.
As long as you're surrounded by people who support and care deeply for each other, the challenges you encounter will seem easier, just a bit. And you are not Atlas. The weight of the world was not meant for your back alone. So find people you trust to help lighten the load.
So thank you all. Peace out.
Be safe.
Be safe. Bye.
So thank you, Caitlin and Audrey. It was great. I didn't know this, but you were grade school friends since early years, and it's great to see you up here, and I think it's fitting for you to do that together. There's only one recipient for the Academy's highest honor of valedictorian. This young lady is an outstanding model of intellectual humility, academic excellence, and noble character. She worked tirelessly in her preparation for class and was fully invested in every discussion and truly wondered in class. She earned perfect marks for all 4 years of high school and participated in numerous extracurricular activities. She is also welcoming, personal, often always seen smiling and seeking to share her joy with others. I am pleased to present to you our valedictorian of the class of 2020, Miss Taylor Chalmers. So please, please be directed to the video.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you and your families are healthy and are staying safe. This year has been difficult for me, and because of this, I have focused on what I have to be grateful for, including the people around me. I want to start off by thanking everybody who has helped me to get where I am today. As a first-gen student, it's been a dream for most of my life to attend college. The journey has been incredibly difficult, and I couldn't have done it without the help of others. I want to thank my parents. You are the ones who taught me the importance of education and encouraged me to seek college because you wanted better for me. You were always there for me and encouraged me to fight the difficulties. It is because of your teachings and your desire to help me that I'm finally able to attend college. I also want to thank Mrs. Sarbacher and Mrs. Smith. I started off with a list of 70 colleges to writing 22 applications and countless essays, but you were always there to help me through this brand new process. You enabled me and supported me even when I felt I couldn't stand another draft or complication. Thank you. The year didn't end like how we imagined it, and I would like to thank everybody in the faculty and administration for going above and beyond to make it possible for us to complete our senior year virtually. I'm amazed at GP's abilities to adapt and overcome challenges. I would especially like to take the time to thank our teachers. You play such an important role in our lives, and you have shaped us into the people we are today. You helped us to love learning and to respect different points of view. You stood by us when we pursued the things we were passionate about, whether it be the fine arts, theater, robotics, sports, or anything else we love. You are our directors, our leaders, our coaches, our strongest supporters, and some of the people we look up to the most. Thank you so much for dedicating so much of your time and energy to help us grow and become the best versions of ourselves. Peers, it has been such a pleasure to learn from you and grow with you. I am so grateful that I got to know each one of you. Through discussions with you in and out of class, I have learned from your different beliefs and ideas, and have seen your curiosity and respect for others. You helped me to realize the great necessity of listening to and respecting different thoughts and beliefs. Mr. Badger from Wind in the Willows says, "It takes all sorts to make a world." This class, with your unique interests, characters, beliefs, have taught me this. You have brought so much more into this world than you can ever imagine. During this time at home, you've educated friends and family about COVID-19, and you've stood with the Black Lives Matter movement and have said, "I see you and will fight for you," to those who are suffering. Once you've watched this video and you've officially graduated from high school, you'll continue to make a difference at your job or at college. You are spectacular in your own way, and as you go on in life, you'll realize how you've made our world and the future. Anything you put your mind, heart, and soul to can help others as long as you approach it with thoughtfulness, passion, and generosity. Never let your dreams go, and have the courage to pursue them in the face of adversity. I would like to leave you with a quote from my good friend, Mr. Toad. "Here today, up and off to somewhere else tomorrow. Travel, change, interest, excitement. The whole world's before you, and a horizon that's always changing. I'm excited to see where you'll go in life. Thank you."
Thank you, Taylor, for your thoughtful address and how you exemplified for your peers and our younger students what it is to be diligent, humble, and caring. We now come to the central moment of the afternoon, in which the Academy will grant diplomas to the class of 2020, and I ask Mr. Withers, our assistant headmaster, to come to the podium and call the roll of the graduates. Mr. Withers.
Okay, graduates, as your names are called, please come to the stage to pick up your diploma and then take a picture with Mr. Navarrete. And remember that there are some graduates that are not here, so just give us time. Let's applaud their names even if they're not here, and then you can come up when your name is called. Calvin David Babcock. Cara Christina Joy Babcock. Audrey Marie Bierman. Marie Bosdo. Alexander Curtis Burton. Wesley Keith Burton. Cade Kenneth Cannon. Trinity Renee Cassetta. Elizabeth K. Covey. Ethan James Crabb. Joel Lawrence Cruz. Ani Sophia Durrell. Alexander Christian Edmiston. Sophie Suzanne Fredrickson. Andrea Marissa Gameros. Lauren Adeline Georgie. Kenneth Joseph Hankish. Greer Elizabeth Hansen. Matthew James Hawkins. Kai Philip Hayakawa. Sophia Rose Shea. Caitlin Ko. Impressive. Riley Ann Kennedy. Lindsay Jean Knott. Andrew Nicholas Lom. Mason Edward Lapointe. Joel Stephen Lane. Katrina Almeida Lee. Kirby Alexander Lorton. Nathan Charles Herbert Lowry. Brady Scott Martin. Marisol Nicole Maddox. Aiden Keegan McClendon. Amelia Rachel Moore. Christopher William Nally. Caleb Houston Neese. Nicole Trinity Preskindola. Eric Eugene Piepenberg. Jared J. Penny. Jennifer Kim Rendon. Kylie Ray Selman. Isabel Ann Squires. Eliza Sage Trimble. Taylor Ani Chamis. Evan Hoangning Vo. Matthew Christopher West Mastanza. Let's have one more round of applause for all the graduates. Congratulations, everybody. Graduates, please move the tassels on your caps from the right to the left. And all those viewing at home, please join me one more time in honoring these graduates of Glendale Preparatory Academy, the class of 2020.
All right, graduates, to send you forth, the Academy has invited one of our own, our beloved Miss Henrich. It was years ago that I joined her in coming to GP. I wondered if you have noticed what I've noticed about her. She truly cares about what she teaches and about what we are discussing. But there's more. In every interaction I've had with Miss Henrich, I always walk away believing she genuinely cares about my thoughts, my heart, my feelings, but also me as a person. And I don't think this was ever an act of show. It was genuine. She loves people, and she certainly has loved all of her students. So although she is not here, she's moved away, and we're playing a recording, I want you to welcome her in such a way where as she's watching, she can hear it. So please show your gratitude and love for Miss Henrich.
Hello, class of 2020. I didn't expect to be addressing you from Birmingham, but I think we've all become more aware of our limitations in recent months. Certainly humbling, and I'm grateful that you're willing to listen to me by video. You're probably tired of watching videos. But despite our disappointments, you're graduating. You've made it, and I'm so proud of you. The awareness of our limitations has probably included, at least for many of us, a sense of what circumstances we're going to find overwhelming. Clinical psychology speaks of a window of toleration. We all have a window of toleration outside of which we don't cope well. I think that's helpful language. I find that I often come back to T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, and he says, humankind cannot bear very much reality. He goes on to describe, and of course I'm paraphrasing, which you're not ever supposed to do with a poem, so just note that, that he describes how our proneness to overwhelm is actually mitigated by our experience of living in bodies and in time. Our experience is stretched out over time, so our being bound in time protects us from being flooded by realities that his flesh cannot endure. Time past and time future, he describes as allowing but a little consciousness. But a little consciousness, not very much reality. I like those phrases. A therapist who would be using language of a window of toleration will be working to help their client, in many cases a traumatized client, bear consciousness of reality, to help them remain present to the moment, whatever's coming at them, without either going dark to it or inappropriately fighting it. So first, the goal is to help them to reach stability within their smaller than ideal window of toleration, as much as they can bear at present of reality. And then hopefully to increase that over time to open the window further and let more reality in. So why am I telling you this? It reminds me of the kind of education that's actually worth something. It hasn't been our goal as your teachers to feed you answers to the human questions, but to help you form the habit of asking them and increasing your own consciousness of more and more reality. The books we read were a handful of voices that were meant to help you start asking and searching. It's an indication of a much more Socratic experience, the times that you've left classroom feeling like you're thirsty, like you've had salt, you need to go search for water, for answers, than if you left feeling like you've been force-fed. And I'm sure there were times that you left my class having been force-fed, and I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention, but I know I do that sometimes. We wanted for you to own the questions that have been asked by all humans forever. And we've affirmed something that we believe makes it possible to ask a meaningful question. And that is that there is such a thing as goodness, as truth, as beauty. We claim that these words describe realities outside of us, and therefore that we can become increasingly conscious of them, increasingly aware of them, and we might find that we've been mistaken about them. A 2011 TED Talk called On Being Wrong, it teases out the insight that being wrong feels just like being right, until you realize that you're not. We may sometimes even have a suspicion that we're wrong, like we do when we're on the edge of a dream, either falling asleep or waking up. And sometimes we can will to come awake to reality or will not to let it in. We can see unconscious errors that have serious consequences in some circumstances, a car crash comes to mind. Realities that we're safe to aren't rendered harmless in order to be fair to our unconscious state, or to what our conscious intentions were. The effects of a driver who falls asleep because they've been working all night in the ICU, most of those effects are indistinguishable from those of a driver who crashes because she got high to escape from grief, or because she went into a diabetic coma, or had an epileptic seizure. The cause of the unconsciousness doesn't really make a difference to the effect. We're all dead wrong about some of the things that we feel right about. And it's important to be able to say, I could be wrong. That's a very different claim, of course, than the claim that there's no possibility of being right, or that truth is different for everyone. What would learning be if reality were not something outside of us and independent of our ideas of it? Attempts at persuasion, in that case, would be absurd. Meaningful questions wouldn't be possible. We'd have no basis for rational discourse or for protests of any kind. We'd have no basis for admiration or joy or justice or peace. So we claim there is a basis for all of those things. The good, true, and beautiful as absolutes, they exist outside of us, and they're unchanged by our ideas. And with that claim, we acknowledge that we have blind spots, and that those blind spots matter. And we accept that we will have to learn some things the hard way. But in addition to blind spots, there is that decision at times to be less than conscious of what we could be conscious of. We strive often less than we want to believe that we strive to know and to be part of what is good and true and beautiful. Do you remember reading Augustine's Confessions? We half want to want purity and strength more than we want to keep our familiar coping mechanisms, sometimes even when we're ashamed of them. Do you feel any kinship with him? Did you feel any when we chose resolutions and renunciations? I wonder if any potential resolutions or renunciations sprung to mind that you had considered in the past, maybe that you've given up on attempting because you know how quickly you fail. Please don't hear me saying that you cannot change. Habits, addictions even, can be changed, especially when root problems that fuel them are addressed and you find help for them. But I sometimes wonder if asserting that the good, true, and beautiful are absolutes, and talking about the virtue of loving and pursuing them, if that tempts us to hide even from ourselves how far we are from attaining to them, or from wanting to. If you've ever felt that all our talk about virtue fuels hypocrisy, or maybe even tempts some people to despair. But what if in our most naked honesty about those things in which we're morally incontinent, or our vices, what if we discover that goodness is seeking after us more than we are seeking the good? That truth is persuading us to come awake to reality even more than we want to. And that beauty is drawing us more than we are pursuing beauty. Could it be otherwise? How good could goodness be without being interested in scraping us up off the curb and taking us safely home? And wouldn't truth be invested in pointing out the places that you're getting tangled and tripping up and loosening the knots for you? If talk like that's only sentimental personification, and these are impersonal, abstract ideals that humans have to muster the virtue to love without ever being loved by, what good is that to someone like me? What good is it to someone like you? I wonder what good you think a character like Beatrice is for Karamazov. I hope that your comfort in all that you'll face will not be your own virtue, or the virtue of any hero that you might have. Because there will be times that you come awake And sometimes you're already half awake, more than half awake, to things that you're ashamed of in yourself, that you don't want to look at, that you don't want anybody else to look at. I hope that even then, and maybe then most of all, you will be persuaded that absolute goodness and truth and beauty exist. And in your surprise at your own greatest darkness, truth knew that about you already, and goodness doesn't turn away. Beauty is on a mission, seeking after you. And the intent for you in that pursuit is good and true and beautiful. I'm full of hope for each of you, for the people who will love you and who you will love, for the people who already love you and you love, and for how that love will grow as you realize more and more over time what you have tolerated in each other that the other person might not have seen yet. We realize this with parents, certainly, as we get older, that they have loved us while they saw things that we didn't want to see about ourselves. And the reverse will also be true. I hope, if I could charge you with one thing, I hope you will allow your real self to be loved as much as your current window of toleration can bear. And that when you find that what's coming at you is pushing the limits of that window, don't freeze there. Do be patient with yourself. Do find help and support, but don't freeze there. There is help, and other people can understand. It's not just you. Humankind cannot bear very much reality. But goodness, truth, and beauty are outside of you, and they are pursuing you. Thank you for letting me send you my warmest and most socially distant congratulations on your graduation from Glendale Prep. My hopes for you are sometimes overwhelming. I hope that you will stay in touch. Godspeed, class of 2020. You are very much loved.
Thank you, Ms. Henrich, for your wise and inspirational words. You've always modeled genuine care, and while you're not with us, we know you will always be a Griffin. Family and friends of the graduates, I know you cannot be with us here in person, but thank you for your support and encouragement that you've given to these young men and women these past years. We're excited to send them off as graduates. We wish all of you a wonderful afternoon and a safe and healthy rest of the summer. Take care.